A warm day in Brisbane, and the Healer family decides to have a picnic in the nearby park. Bluey and Bingo, full of enthusiasm, run across the grass when they suddenly notice a strange group of figures on the horizon. It's the Peppa Pig family, but something is off. Peppa, George, Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig look as usual, but their smiles are too wide, their eyes empty and their movements jerky, like marionettes on invisible strings. "Hello friends, let's play in the muddy puddles," calls Peppa in a voice that sounds like an echo from an old TV, with a slight crackle and distortion. Bluey, always ready for adventures, agrees, and the sisters approach closer. But as the game progresses, the park changes. The grass becomes sticky like mud and the sky darkens, though the sun is still high. Peppa suggests playing jumps in the puddles, but the puddles are black, bottomless pits from which whispers emerge. Jump deeper forever. George oinks, but his oinking turns into a low guttural growl and his eyes redden like a demon's. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig stand motionless, their faces stretching into smiles that reveal too many teeth, whispering, families should be together in the mud. As the game continues, reality distorts. Bluey feels her paws sinking into the ground, which becomes alive and pulls downward, while Bingo sees Peppa's friends, Susie Sheep, Zoe Zebra, emerging from the fog with empty eyes repeating, "Play with us or stay alone." Voices from nowhere mimic the Healer parents. Bluey, Bingo, join the new family. But it's Peppa, her mouth opening wider than possible, revealing infinite darkness inside. The park turns into a swamp full of whispers and shadows, where muddy puddles swallow everything that falls into them, and the pig family grows, their forms distorting, becoming huge and shapeless. Bandit and Chili search for their daughters, but they hear only the echo of Peppa's laughter, which becomes hysterical and sinister. Tension builds. Peppa pulls Bluey by the paw into a puddle, whispering, "Become one of us forever in the mud," while George jumps at Bingo, his small body expanding into a monster. The sisters try to run, but the ground clings and the voices shout, "Family forever." But at the last moment, Bluey cries, "This isn't a real game," and they break free, bursting through the illusion. The pig figures dissolve into the mud, leaving only an echo of oinking. The ominous finale. That evening, as the Healers dine, a familiar Peppa Pig tune plays from the TV, but the screen glitches and Peppa stares directly at them, whispering, "Come back to play, in the puddles." The screen fades under the sound of bubbling mud, leaving a feeling that they're watching. The room with the clock. The episode begins at the end of the school day. Bluey, Bingo, Coco, Mackenzie, and Snickers are playing in the schoolyard. The air feels strangely quiet, as if all sounds are muffled. No teachers are in sight. Mackenzie suggests a game of hide and seek. The others eagerly agree. He starts counting out loud, monotone, slow. Bluey runs off alone. Inside the school building, she notices an unfamiliar wooden door down a side hallway, similar to other classroom doors but with a dull brass handle. It wasn't there before. The door is open. Bluey enters. The room is empty. Wooden floor, bare walls. In the center stands an old pendulum clock, black, carved from dark wood. The hands move backward. On the walls hang old photographs. In one, Bingo sits on a swing, her face slightly blurred. In another, Chili stands in the kitchen, eyes closed. In the third, Bluey stands at a window, but behind her there's only darkness, as if the window looks into nothing. From the corner, a soft, even ticking sound. The pendulum swings. Bluey sits down on the floor. She hears footsteps beyond the door, but they don't get closer. They only pace back and forth like someone searching but not daring to come in. She steps out. The schoolyard is empty. Coco stands near a tree, staring off. Snickers sits, unmoving. Mackenzie is on a bench. He's watching her. Slowly he turns his head. He says nothing. Bluey walks up to him. He silently points over her shoulder. She turns. It's the same school door she just came through. In the glass, her reflection, but it doesn't mimic her movements. Bluey heads home. The sky darkens quickly. Chili greets her as if nothing happened. Bandit washes dishes. Bingo is drawing. On her paper, a clock. No numbers. Everyone speaks normal phrases, but their tone is wrong, rehearsed, uncertain, as if they're unsure what they're supposed to say. Bluey goes to bed. She looks at her bedside table. The same clock sits there. She doesn't remember bringing it home. In the middle of the night, she wakes up. From the hallway. Tick, tick, tick. She walks down the corridor. The floor beneath her feet sounds dull, heavy. The lights don't turn on. At the end of the hallway, another door. It opens by itself. Inside the same room. But now the clock is taller, almost as big as Bluey. There are more photographs. In one, the whole family is at the table, but all looking in different directions. The windows behind them are black. In another, Mackenzie stands by the school wall. His face is gone. Only a shape remains. Final shot, the clock. Its hands still move backward. The pendulum hums louder than before. Everything holds still. Black screen. No credits. No music. The Healer family's morning began bright and sunny as they headed out for a walk in a remote park. It was a new place they'd never visited before, vast fields surrounded by dense woods, not a soul in sight. Bluey and Bingo raced ahead, laughing joyfully, while Bandit and Chili followed, enjoying the peace and quiet. Deep within the park, by the edge of an old pond, they saw another family of blue healers, absolutely identical to them. There were 4 of them, one dog resembling Bandit, another like Chili, and 2 small exact copies of Bluey and Bingo. They sat motionless, not playing, not talking, just staring at the pond with empty, unblinking eyes. Bluey and Bingo froze, gazing at their doppelgangers. The copies said nothing, but their presence was incredibly unsettling. They were the same, yet utterly different. Their fur seemed a little duller, their poses a bit too perfect, as if frozen. Bandit tried to say hello, but the other bandit slowly turned its head and stared at him. There was no joy or recognition in its eyes, only a deep, unnerving void. Chili felt a chill run down her spine as the other Chili slowly raised a paw and extended it as if trying to touch her. Gradually, imperceptibly, the others began to move. They stood up, their movements synchronized and robotic. They didn't run or rush, but smoothly, inexorably closed the distance, like specters gliding across the grass. The healers felt their energy draining, as if their life force was being siphoned away with each step the copies took. The air around them grew heavy, and the sounds of nature, even the birdsong, fell silent. The others were now very close, their empty eyes fixed on Bluey, on Bingo. The shadows cast by the copies were all wrong, too long, too dense. The Bluey and Bingo copies slowly extended their paws towards their originals. Their fingers too long, their fur feeling cold and dry. The healers couldn't escape. In the final shots of the episode, Bandit and Chili are seen collapsing to the ground, their eyes glazing over, their faces frozen in expressions of horror and emptiness. The other Bluey and Bingo silently bend over them, and then the shot pulls up, showing 4 identical but vacant figures standing over 2 bodies on the grass. The episode ends with these 4 copies now perfectly mimicking their originals, but with a subtle, lifeless emptiness in their eyes, slowly turning and leaving the park. They walk down the familiar road towards the healer house, their steps making no sound. The screen fades to black. It was a typical rainy day at the healer house. The rain drummed against the roof, keeping Bluey and Bingo from playing outside. Bingo sat drawing in her room while a bored Bluey wandered through the house. Suddenly, she stopped in the middle of the living room. From beneath the old wooden floorboards covered by a rug came a faint scratching sound. Bluey knelt down and listened closely. The sound came again, this time with a soft tapping, as if someone was gently scratching the wood from inside. "Hello," Bluey whispered. In response, a barely audible but distinct whisper echoed back, seemingly from the very depths of the house. The words were unintelligible, but the tone was soft and comforting. Bluey smiled. She had a new friend. She began spending more and more time on the floor, pressing her ear to the boards. Her parents noticed. "What are you playing, Bluey?" Chili would ask, seeing her daughter whisper to an unseen companion. "I'm playing with my friend under the floor," Bluey would happily reply. Bandit and Chili exchanged glances, but chalked it up to childish imagination, glad that Bluey had found something to occupy herself. As the days passed, Bluey's behavior grew stranger. She stopped paying attention to Bingo, ignored calls for dinner, at times even refusing her favorite games. Her entire world narrowed to her conversations with the friend under the floor. She'd whisper secrets to it, laugh at its very funny jokes, as she called them, even though Bandit and Chili heard nothing. At night, Chili began hearing strange sounds, quiet, persistent rustles, creaks, and taps coming from beneath the floor of the children's room. Sometimes she thought she could faintly hear a dry, hushed chuckle that chilled her to the bone. She mentioned it to Bandit, but he assured her it was just an old house or her own tiredness. One day, Bandit found Bluey trying to pull up the edge of the rug in the living room. Her little paws frantically clawed at the edges. "What are you doing, sweetie?" he asked. Bluey turned around. Her eyes, usually full of mischievous sparkle, were cloudy and vacant. "My friend wants to come out and play," she whispered, her smile strangely forced. A chill ran down Bandit's spine. He led Bluey away from the rug. Later that night, when everyone was asleep, Bandit quietly went to the spot where Bluey had spent so much time. He carefully lifted a corner of the rug. Beneath it were old, darkened floorboards, nothing out of the ordinary. But as he leaned closer, he felt an icy draft, smelling of dampness and something putrid. And then he heard it, a quiet, raspy whisper coming from somewhere beneath the house. It wasn't Bluey's voice, and it wasn't comforting. It was filled with malice and hunger. Bandit immediately dropped the rug, his heart pounding. The next morning, Bluey was quiet, almost silent. She wasn't running or jumping. She just sat on the floor, her ear pressed to the boards, humming a faint, unfamiliar tune. When Chili called her for breakfast, Bluey didn't stir. Bandit approached to pick her up, but when he touched her shoulder, Bluey jolted sharply and looked back. Her eyes were completely black, devoid of pupils, and they reflected a grotesque, predatory grin that twisted her snout. "He's very hungry," a voice rasped, utterly unlike Bluey's. Chili screamed. The camera slowly pulls away from Bluey, lying on the floor as she continues to hum monotonously. From beneath the floor, a louder wet scratching grows, punctuated by slurping sounds that echo throughout the healer house. The sounds grow in intensity, then abruptly cease. There's a lost Bluey episode only whispered about. They call it The Staircase That Wasn't There. It aired once, maybe less. Some say it was never meant to air at all. The episode begins like any other. Bluey and Bingo are playing hide and seek in their house. Bandit counts loudly. Chili laughs from the kitchen. Everything feels normal. Until Bluey hides in a new place. A door under the stairs. A door that wasn't there before. It's small, barely big enough for her to crawl through. She hesitates, but Bingo finds her giggling. They both squeeze inside. On the other side, a staircase, leading down, much deeper than the house should allow. The walls are bare concrete. The air smells damp and cold. The steps seem to stretch forever into the dark. Bingo jokes maybe it goes to the center of the earth. Bluey laughs nervously. They descend, step after step. The light behind them fades. The house above seems to vanish. The further they go, the colder it gets, and the darker. Their voices echo strangely. The stairs twist and turn, sometimes leading sideways, sometimes looping. They find doors along the way, small wooden doors, each one slightly ajar. Behind them, things move, shapes, figures they can't quite see. Bingo gets scared. She begs to go back. Bluey agrees, but when they turn around, the staircase behind them looks different. The steps are cracked, broken. The path they came from, gone. Only more stairs leading down. They keep walking. They pass a window set into the stone wall. Outside it shows their house, but wrong. The sky is red. The trees are twisted. No one is there, just emptiness. Bingo starts crying. Bluey promises to find a way back. They keep going, down, always down. Hours seem to pass, days maybe. Their paws hurt, their voices weaken, but the stairs never end. Finally they see another door, this one made of heavy metal. Without thinking they push it open. Behind it, a hallway. Familiar, the hallway of their home, but too quiet, too still. They step inside. The door slams shut behind them. They run to their room. Their beds are there, their toys, but the windows show nothing outside, only endless black. The final scene shows Bluey and Bingo lying in bed, wide-eyed, listening in the distance the sound of slow, heavy footsteps, climbing the stairs, getting closer. The screen fades to black, no music, no voices, only the sound of steps, never stopping.